What is up, everyone? Welcome to this live episode of the Locked On Cavs podcast. I'm Chris Manning. That is Evan Dammarell, or your daily look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. We're going to do an hour here live on YouTube tonight. Hit subscribe if you have not already. A lot going on in Cavs world. We're going to talk at the top of the show in the as part of the first half hour about Isaac Okoro. And him going to health and safety protocols, which is a bummer, but we'll dive into all the implications of that. I want to thank you though for listening and thank you everyone for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every day. Remember, we are free and available on all platforms.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by TrueBill. TrueBill is the new app that saves you money by helping you identify and stop paying for the subscriptions you don't want or need, and can even negotiate better deals on those that you want to keep. Evan, the big news we have to get into is Isaac Okoro entering the NBA's health and safety protocols. He is one of many, many players across the league today that is entering health and safety protocols. Yes, there's a lot.
Players are in health and safety protocols. Great googly moogly.
There's a lot. This is an ongoing issue across the sports. We'll talk about some of the COVID-y things, I think, later on. But with Okoro coming off the best 4 games of the season, perhaps the best 4-game stretch of his entire NBA career, we don't know, obviously, I think, how long he's going to be out. It's very unfair to speculate on that stuff, I think. We don't know a ton of information as of right now. The Cavs have obviously had 2 players be in COVID protocols earlier season. Larry Markkanen and Kevin Love both missed. I think Markkanen was 8 and Love was 7 games, something like that. So
it was a decent chunk.
This could be something where Okoro misses. It would seem highly unlikely just on the surface that he would play this weekend. We'll see when he comes back, but like the timing of this,
he's not gonna have a LeBron level turnaround, I don't think.
Well, I mean, like theoretically, could have like a negative test or whatever. We would guess that we would not see him this weekend. Probably not see him for part of next weekend. For him at this time, when he has played really well, is looking comfortable, and the team is playing really well, and he's obviously been a big part of that success. It's just like a bummer, but it's also just like the reality of kind of the world we're living in. Like this was bound to happen again at some point. Unfortunately, it feels like.
Yeah, it does, especially with Omicron just kind of moving in silence like a G in lasagna, but it's certainly tough. It makes me think a lot about the Larry Markkanen situation for sure, when Larry went down with COVID, when he entered health and safety protocols and he was out for an extended period, because Larry needed that time to get familiar and comfortable with his teammates. I think Jared Allen just said maybe 2 or 3 games ago that he's finally starting to feel comfortable sharing the floor with him, which just kind of speaks volumes to how valuable that lost time was for him and the rest of his teammates to just kind of get acclimated with one another, because for the foreseeable future, Larry Markkanen is a part of the plans going forward. And ditto for Okoro, because there was going to be an adjustment from life after Colin Sexton when you put Okoro in the starting lineup, especially offensively. There's a huge dip. Okoro is starting to produce really well because he's looking better after that hamstring injury. So this is just a huge bummer. This is a huge momentum killer. And I have a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, especially with this weekend coming up. I know Milwaukee is kind of really hit over the head with health and safety protocol stuff too, but this is really unfortunate timing, especially for a Cavs team that's won 5 in a row and had a ton of good momentum going towards Milwaukee, and then Atlanta as well on Sunday. But on an individual level, like I feel awful for Isaac. I hope he bounces back soon. Hopefully this doesn't impact his conditioning. Hopefully he doesn't have long-term lasting effects out of like a Myles Garrett or other athletes who have still struggled to breathe at times on the floor. Like Kevin Love said, the biggest adjustment for him wasn't the physical aspect. It was rebuilding his lung capacity so that he wasn't gasping for air when playing extended bursts on the floor at times. I'm sure he'll bounce back. I'm sure he'll be fine, but it's definitely tough. And like you said, it kind of feels inevitable that the Cavs are going to get hit by this again. It's just unfortunate that it happened right now.
Yeah, let's talk. I think let's empathize with Okoro. I think specifically for this, because if you're him, I mean, literally had one of the dunks of the season in the NBA, one of the best plays of the Cavs season when he dunked on 3 dudes' heads last night. He's looked so confident the last couple games.
Sorry, I'm
Like,
thinking about it again. I can't help but
no,
smile.
I'm not gonna like repeat the jokes, and I don't want to repeat the jokes that were made about him being in close contact with 3 people after this announcement was made today. But I did chuckle about them a little bit, if I'm being honest here. But
You pretty
like,
much made the joke by explaining the joke to everybody. So
look, that's what I
insert
do.
laugh track here, Chris, in post.
That's right. I'm not doing that. But like, this is not only like interrupting a really good flow for him, right? But this is also like he's not going to get to play in his hometown on Sunday because he's obviously from Atlanta. Like, doesn't get that homecoming game. It's just like on a human level, I've been trying more and more to think about some of this stuff, just like instead of like contracts and stuff. Like, I think that's just like I've gotten over thinking about that in that way, like of these people as like assets and things. Like,
They're
I think,
human beings, not
right,
assets.
yeah. And I think just thinking about Okoro is like, okay, this guy has finally looked comfortable. I thought like literally the dunk was like the exclamation point of that.
Mm-hmm.
And now he doesn't get to play in his hometown because he's in health and safety protocols and like could be dealing with COVID. Like, because again, we don't know. Like, this isn't like transparent information about like if he has COVID, if it's just like a protocols thing. Like, we'll kind of find out because like what happened with like Kevin Love is that once he came back, he kind of was just like, yeah, I had actual COVID and like it sucked. And we'll find out what this is as we go along here. But this just, it just sucks that for Isaac. But this is again, like, look at, as you said, you asked JB about this on Wednesday night. There's like just a ton of players in the league dealing with COVID. This is a problem league-wide. And it's not just like an NBA problem. This is obviously with the Browns, this is a massive NFL problem. This is an NHL problem I learned today.
Cleveland is 20 players down.
Yeah, like
the Browns, not the Cavs, obviously.
The Cavs don't have 20 players in their roster. And then you look at like Premier League, you look at La Liga, and over like this is a problem with every single major sports league in the world right now. It's a problem with college basketball, like where they like it's just we're dealing with a different phase of this, and it maybe I don't know if it's going to go back to like what it was like circa March 2020, but like it's just like this
You
is
should
like
put a
not.
pin in that
This
because I
is
would
not
like to
fun.
have a
This is not fun.
conversation about that. Just in
Well,
general.
I don't know if like let's say I want to just end this segment on this. Do you have I don't feel like anyone actually likes talking about this, but it is just like the practical reality of us covering this team that we have to talk about it. And it's just like the hypotheticals of it just really bum me out in a way that like makes my stomach churn. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I thought you were gonna ask me, should the league go on hiatus for a little bit until things kind of simmer down and maybe until players are fully boosted? I would say yes. Maybe
I kind of wonder
1 or 2 week break through the
yeah.
holidays.
Well, I would
come back after New Year's, maybe after ML. Yeah, no, financially they can't do that.
Well, they're gonna play on Christmas. Christmas is such a big deal for the NBA. They're playing on Christmas,
and like the NBA bubble isn't tenable either because there was literally just the select few teams, and then the losers stayed home, and that was still held together by rubber bands and like bubble gum at that point because Lou Williams went to a strip club and tested positive for COVID just for the chicken wings. So
shout out Jack Harlow.
Shout out to Magic City. Oh yeah, Jack Harlow too. So either way, I think the league should shut down. I also think the Browns, like the NFL, should shut down for like a week just to kind of let this. Sounds awful to say run its course and then you hopefully move forward from this, but it's going to impact the health and longevity of this league and these teams because I hope the cynic in me isn't talking when I say players and teams are finding ways to circumvent this stuff. Like I know Antonio Brown is a good example of this year.
Well, not a good example, a very bad example.
A bad example, but a good example of players trying to skirt the rules and regulations. The Denver Broncos were an example of this last year. Their entire quarterbacks room took their trackers off and just put them on the floor and then huddled up, and then they had no quarterbacks. They lost the Saints when they started Kendall Hinton, a wide receiver, and they lost 31-3 against the Saints, and it was an absolute massacre. But I don't know because financially the league can't afford it, and I don't want people saying like, well, we just have to learn how to live with it. No, we don't have to learn how to live with it. We need to learn how to put this away forever because it's still a pandemic. And I checked before the show, but 5.3 million people worldwide have died from this, and that kind of puts into perspective that yeah, your entertainment might be put on hold for a week or two, and there might be some fans that are frothing at the mouth, pissed off because they bought tickets for a game, but get the fuck over it. These aren't people that are performing for entertainment. These are human beings who are competing for their lives, quite literally, out there. And I don't know, man. That's just I'm so I'm just frustrated, I guess, just because it just seems like Adam Silver is just like seeing all these cases pop up, and he's just turns back and looks at the TV money and keeps on keeping on.
Yeah, things are in a tricky spot right now. I'll be curious to see how the league and other every league around the world maybe do something different here. I will be fascinated to watch that. Evan, after the break, let's talk about the basketball part of this because the Cavs will have to obviously adjust their rotation here and that considering how Okoro's played and considering just kind of like their lack of real wing depth, it is kind of a concern. But first, we got to tell everyone about our friends at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. They have the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. They offer more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator and offers all the superstar players as well as bench players on the recording of handful of minutes each game. Cavs fans, you've been hearing Evan and I tell you about PrizePicks for months. Why haven't you signed up? It is daily fantasy made easy. If you haven't checked it out yet, you're missing out. I'm telling you, you're going to love this app for NBA and mixed sports pick'ems. Look, there's Christmas Day games coming up, and they're going to be off the charts and even more fun if you play PrizePicks. So in Cleveland, you could take the an over on, let's say, Nick Mullins, and then the under on Bron's third-string quarterback, Evan. He's going to play quarterback because Case Keenum also tested positive for COVID. And the under, let's say, on Lauri Markkanen. I don't know. You could do this. Ton of fun stuff. Go to prizepicks.com. Use or use their winning app on both the Apple Store and Google Play. Use the promo code NBA and download the app. Use that promo code NBA. It's PrizePicks made easy. You get 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with that promo code NBA. Okay. So, Evan. Cavs starting shooting guard out due to COVID. Don't know how long he's going to be out. When I was thinking
with a knee injury.
Yes. When I was thinking about, well, yeah, obviously, but that's I'm talking about new in terms of right now. When I was thinking about what the Cavs' options are here, I think there are two options that would make the most sense to me on paper. I would say that if you're going to make it and you're going to start, it would be Rubio or Cedi Osman. It's one of those two. Right? I don't think Dylan Windler is a viable option here. I don't think Denzel Valentine is a viable option. You can't throw another big on the floor. That's just insane. Well, I think it has to be okay, Evan. You cannot if it's a fourth big, they're not gonna if they start Dean Wade, Lauri Markkanen, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen, I will literally light my hand on fire. Okay, that is an insane thing for them to do.
The fake hand that Hiram Boyd cut off.
Yeah, I will torch my nubs. Okay, they're gonna they have two options, and it's Rubio or it is Osman. I don't think there's another option. There will be a trickle down, and Lamar could get some more minutes. The staggering is going to look different, but I think it's Rubio or Osman if we're looking at who's going to start here.
It's either that or they call up Kyle Guy from the G League. I think they.
But is he good? But is he going to start? I don't think he's going to start.
He could. The Cavs are that thin suddenly at shooting guard depth.
Yeah, but going from a guy playing in the G League to just here's a rotation piece and calling him up would be such a crazy thing to try and integrate. If you're going to do that, you might as well just play the wing who is on your roster and Dylan Windler just to do it because you already have a guy that you don't know where you're going to get from him and Windler's at least bigger.
I guess Windler would make sense in theory. I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow night for the Charge or not because
they're too thin.
They submitted their injury report.
Well, yet. with the Okoro thing, the Cavs might be too thin to have him in the G League. We might be at the point where you got to kind of worry about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting dilemma for sure. I think, honestly, Ricky would probably get the start because JV has found the best role for Cedi Osman where they don't ask him to do too much and they say, okay, you are a shooter off the bench. You provide some rebounding and some tertiary playmaking at times, but primarily we want you to shoot three-pointers. I think it's going to be Garland, Rubio, Markkanen, Mobley, Allen when they tip off Saturday in Milwaukee. I don't know if it's going to work necessarily, but they'll try it. I think maybe that'll be a new wrinkle to kind of get Drew Holiday's pressure off of Darius a little bit too, because you need kind of that secondary playmaker and shot creator as well, because who else are you going to get it from? Because Drew's probably going to clamp up Darius the entire game, but it's tough, man, because I've actually thought about this a lot. Who is going to start? I think about the defensive matchups just because the Cavs are such a good defensive team. Like I look at Sunday's game against Atlanta. Who's going to defend Trae Young to start the game? Are they going to put Darius on him and hope for the
Well,
best? Are they going to
that's
throw
also
Lowry
why
at him?
this is also just why like the Kyle Guy thing to me is like asinine because like Rubio is a guard, but he's like a big bulky guard who like plays bigger than he is.
I'm
Kyle
not saying
Guy,
he starts, but you call up Kyle Guy as emergency depth. I never said
yeah,
Kyle Guy was going to
yeah.
start.
Well, you kind of insinuated. That's the way you phrased it. So
No,
that's
I was giving my train of thought because I'm pretty sure Rubio would start in this scenario because I think that's a lineup JD's utilized before when both Isaac and Colin were out.
if they're gonna play anyone, I think for the G League it would be RJ Nembhard because he's 6'7". Like
Yeah,
if you
but
want to play a
RJ
small
Nembhard
guard,
has.
yeah, and you don't have a hardship exception at this point. Like just play Kevin Pangos if you want to play another small guard. Like if you want to do that, Kevin Pangos is just right there on your roster. RJ Nembhard would be the guy to me that if you're gonna call up a Canton guy or a Cleveland guy, Freudian slip there. It's like San Diego. Like I will never not say San Diego Chargers. They're just perpetually the San Diego Chargers to me. Like
Yeah, no, that's fair. Trying to think of the Oakland. I catch myself because the Browns are playing the Raiders. I'm like, yeah, they're playing Oakland. No, they're playing Las
yeah,
Vegas now.
yeah.
Getting old, Chris. Getting old.
I'm super old, but like I tend to think that it has to like I am curious to see who I am curious to see if JB like runs this as like a trial period to see if there's any other wings he would like to get a look at because it's I think he likes Lamar. I don't think it's pretty clear that he doesn't
I
like
was gonna
bank on
say
Lamar for everything.
we have somebody in the chat floating the idea of Lamar Stevens starting in Okoro's place because Lamar Stevens, it's Matt X Matt saying Lamar Stevens is so similar to Okoro.
He's like budget. He's like budget Okoro.
He's
Calling
budget
him similar
Okoro
is
because
like
he said the second unit needs Ricky Rubio, which I understand that thought process because JB has done a good job of deploying Osman and Rubio or Rubio and Love together at the same time to kind of get one of those two going alongside Rubio because Ricky kind of sparks that bench unit really well. Like I understand you don't want to rock the ship too much there, but defensively, it's a bit of a mess. And offensively, it's a huge mess if you put Lamar Stevens there. Like, yeah, Lamar can play defense, but can he play defense for 36 to 40 minutes?
Well, and he's not nearly as good of a defender. He's just not nearly on the level that Okoro is. Like, he's not going to provide that same level. It's competent, but it is not like you're sure this is very, very good defense. I think it's like this is all just like very tricky. And what I would expect on defense is something JB alluded to when I asked him about like learning and them developing and him talk. His kind of one of the through lines of him this year is like, okay, we have a scheme, and like I think certainly you see different advice and different kind of not advice, but different scheme choices and different kinds of things as they are running through different lineups. Like I think you obviously just see different stuff depending on who's in the floor and whatnot. I think particularly if let's just say like it is Rubio that starts. Like I think you would see even more of the bigs just like immediately switching. It's like Allen, and this is on Allen and Mobley. Like the other part of this is like assuming Evan Mobley is back this weekend, which I
yeah, that's the other thing.
It's like take one piece away against a Rockets team, you have problems. Take two pieces away, and things.
Do you really have problems against the Rockets because the Rockets kind of laid down and gave up?
I'm saying it's like it's one thing to take away Mobley against, and obviously the Bucks won't have Giannis and things, but it's like to take away Mobley and then still have Okoro and Allen. It's like okay, like with the structure you can still do some of this. Markkanen's competing. Dean Wade is willing to at least hustle his butt off out there. Like there's just like some limits on like if you don't have all of the people, which is a little bit cumbersome, let's say. So
just a little
I don't know.
Bit. To put in perspective of who is and isn't available tonight when the Bucks take on the Pelicans, Giannis is out due to health and safety protocols. Thanasis Antetokounmpo is out due to the right soleus strain, Giannis's younger brother. Dante DiVincenzo is out due to health and safety. Brooke Lopez is out due to back surgery. Wes Matthews is out due to health and safety. Chris Middleton is probable due to a hyperextended left knee. Semi Ojeleye is out due to a right calf strain, and Bobby Portis is out due to health and safety protocol. So, like, those are some key pieces from Milwaukee who may not play on Saturday.
It's a lot, and again, we don't know if there's any other Cavs. We're recording this again live on YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't already. But like, we don't know if there's going to be like other Cleveland Cavaliers players that end up in the protocols.
And I tweeted this like after the fact. You and I both noticed that this was a change from the Monday's game to Wednesday's game, every member of Cleveland's coaching staff was wearing a mask at all times. The players, when they're sitting on the bench, were wearing a mask at all times. I think they're not going to institute social distancing because they're all vaccinated, but they are going to try and protect the players as much as possible in order to make sure that this doesn't kind of spread like wildfire across the whole roster.
Yeah. The through line of some of this is just strange. Again, like every team is dealing with this. It's not a Cavs only thing, but this is the Cavs little English. Okay, but after the break, let's move on to something that isn't COVID because I'm sick of talking about COVID. I think everyone has been talking about it forever.
You know what I'm also sick of, Chris?
What?
Free trials that renew without my consent.
Look at that transition.
It's a business scam out to get you. Do not, and I mean do not let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download TrueBill today to take control of your subscriptions. TrueBill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions that you do not need, want, or simply just forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with TrueBill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, TrueBill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and TrueBill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your TrueBill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to. Did you know that TrueBill has saved over 2 million users and helped them save over 100 million? You should get in on this, so do not fall for subscription scams anymore and start canceling today at TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now, TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. It could save you thousands a year. TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA.
All right, let's move on to some questions. I want to cleanse the palate.
Let's get some pickled ginger, put it on the back of our mouths, maybe smell some coffee if you want to do like a candle palate cleansing thing.
Yeah, so looks like if you have any questions, now's a really good time to drop them. I'm only seeing the one right now, and I know you had one earlier, so maybe I am just missing some and we're having a little glitch here. But Evan, do you have any do we have any questions in the chat that we can get to?
Would you trade Love for the right price? From Mad X Mad or Matt X Mad.
Yeah,
I would. I mean, like Kevin Love's beneficial to this team. He's a beneficial veteran leader for this team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think any player not named Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, or Jared Allen are available for the right price on this team. And you're lying to yourself to say like, oh, Colin Sexton cannot be had or Isaac Okoro cannot be had. Yeah, they're both great players in their own right, but if the Cavs can use those players to consolidate them to maybe make an upgrade to support those key three players I said, you absolutely do it.
Yeah, look, here is just the reality I think of to remember with trades. They are not 2K. They're not like, hey, here's Kevin Love, I'm going to insert him into this trade thing and send him and get him for player X, player Y. Or like, I'm just going to like,
I had one executive say that the NBA trade machine is a blessing and a curse because the hypotheticals that fans spit up on the fly like instantaneously are insane.
They're crazy. I don't think they're like unuseful in like thinking about roster construction, but like I think people have to remember that teams are never going to be as attached like because they have to decide to make improvements on the roster and do all these different things. Like you have to be in a position where you are not going to like be like beholden to these guys on your roster. You're going to make a point to like upgrade your roster if you can. So like if the Cavs could find a deal that Kobe Altman and his team and then the coaching staff with their input thinks makes them better, if they could trade Kevin Love for something that they think makes them better in whatever way they want to define that, I think they would absolutely do it. I think if I'm saying there's only 3 untouchable players on the roster and you've named them, it is in this order to me: Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and Jared Allen. Those are the 3 most untradeable guys on the roster. I like
in that order.
Yeah, I think so.
I could toss up Allen and Garland a little bit. Like if
I don't, because I think Allen has been awesome. I think arguably the best player in the Cavs this year. Garland is at this level and plays a position and plays a style that is getting him to the point where like you all like, and he's the engine to everything the team is doing.
Curry says he's nostalgic and wants to return to his home,
but like now you're throwing out bonkers hypotheticals that are just like
that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm just saying.
What if Joel Embiid's like, I want to play for the Cleveland Cavaliers? Then you trade Jared Allen like that. But like if a superstar at that position,
actually, no, I wouldn't trade for Joel Embiid because Jared Allen's actually durable. So
okay, now you're just saying crazy stuff, and Third time already.
Let me take the Justin Rowan take. The Sixers should have traded Joel for Anthony Davis earlier on and maximized the window around Ben Simmons.
I was just finishing reading Joran Weitzman's book about the Sixers, and I just there's a nugget in there that I was reminded of today because in relation to the Zion news, because Zion surgeon is the one that worked on Embiid pre the draft. There's a really Joel Embiid. He worked out with the Cavs and was hollering at David Griffin to have the Cavs draft him after he was swishing buckets and killing in a workout. And it was in Cleveland where he had they found out he had a foot stress fracture.
Say he failed his medical in Cleveland because I'm pretty sure the Cavs would have taken.
He ran on a treadmill and they found it, and he said it was uncomfortable, and they found a stress fracture in his foot.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those alternate worlds where it's Joel Embiid could have become a Cav, and then I wonder what the trade looks like that summer, or it's just one of those crazy
I don't know, man. Would you have rolled out a lineup of Kyrie, LeBron, and Joel as your big three?
I mean, I just don't. But I mean, what we know about Joel at the time, it's what if he had played that year? Would LeBron have been comfortable with that? We don't know. You know what I mean?
Oh, LeBron would have pressured Joel back, and Joel probably would be.
Or Joel, he would have been I want Kevin Love. Get me Kevin Love. I don't care about Joel Embiid. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's all of these things we just don't know. But I think if the right trade, to circle back to the question, if Kevin Love was involved, if even Rubio, Okoro, again, I think there's those three guys that are right now locked into what they're doing here. Those are the three guys that I would identify as the key part of this core. Mobley obviously is a potential superstar. Garland is having an incredible year and is on his way to being, I think, an all-star caliber guard. Those are the three guys to me. And I think everyone else, if you found the right deal, if they felt like they could get Jaylen Brown, let's just say, and I don't think Boston is there yet, it seems in terms of him being available. And it was the Celtics were okay, we want X, Y, and Z, and Okoro is the last thing on there. I think the Cavs yeah, we're going to get Jaylen Brown. That's just how this works. They're never going to be tied.
We should talk about that hypothetical trade after the break.
Yeah, if someone asks us about it, I want to make this a listener focused thing. And Evan, just so you know, I don't know if I didn't tag you in this. I wanted to see if I could genuinely surprise you, and I'm waiting for him to slide on. But we are going to have a special guest.
What?
We are going to have a special guest here on the pod. He just joined.
Oh.
We're going to take a break, and we're going to reveal the special guest after this. We'll be back second half of Locked On Cavs Live. It's fun times here. Live podcasting. You love to see it. We'll be right back. Whoa, we're back. We've got a special guest. It's Jordan Zirm. Jordan.
Wow.
What's up, buddy?
Wow. What an honor. What a true honor to be here amongst you two gentlemen. This is a highlight of my evening.
Look, you're back in the land.
Back in the attic of my mother's house.
It's you came in the weather. The weather's not Cleveland winter. It's 60 degrees outside.
It was weather.
It was nicer in Cleveland yesterday and today than it was in LA. So I just fly from parts of the country that are unreasonably warm in winter months. That's all I'm doing. So
fun times. All right. So the second half of the show, we're going to take more questions with Jordan Zirm. I want to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by TrueBill. Again, shouts to TrueBill for sponsoring the show. And if you want to get rid of those unneeded subscriptions, you should do it. They save you money by helping you identify and stop paying for the subscriptions you don't want or need. And they can even negotiate better deals on those you want to keep. Get those questions in. It's me, Evan, and Zirm right after this.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Jordan, as we get into some questions here, is there a topic that you would like to use? If I can find a question, or if you would like to get a question from our viewing audience here, is there something you want to talk about even that we can just kind of go with here?
Ooh, that's good. I mean, I think the Okoro stuff, and I'm sure you guys have probably touched on it a little bit, and it's a little bit of a downer with him going into protocols. But I'm just very fascinated by the sudden coming out party that Isaac Okoro appears to be having at the moment. And that's probably the most interesting. I mean, there's so much interest. I think is like most surprising to me is the Okoro stuff because he just sort of like flipped a switch and all of a sudden is yamming on 3 dudes at one time. So that to me is the most interesting, but I'm open to any and all questions. I'm ready. I got answers. I got so many answers, dude. It's just like, it's unbelievable.
That's funny. The Okoro stuff, does it feel
I have a
sustainable to
question.
you guys? Does it feel sustainable?
Well, first I want to know where Jordan was when he saw the Isaac dunk.
Oh, yes. Good question.
I literally, so my flight got delayed yesterday. So I landed in Cleveland at like 10. I was supposed to land at like 8. I landed in Cleveland at 10. And I tweeted about this. No joke. I turned my phone off airplane mode and I opened Instagram. And like the first thing that popped in my feed was the dunk. And I had to like rewatch it like 3 different times. And like people were like looking over my shoulder at it. And it was just like, I mean, I've always known, like, I think Okoro is like, he had some dunks at Auburn that were nasty. Chris, he had that dunk at Summer League that was pretty nasty off an assist from Evan Mobley.
He dunked on Jokic last year, lest we forget.
Yes, this is true. Like, my man can dunk, but this was another level of dunking. You don't see 3 guys getting posterized at once. That's just like not a thing that happens. So that being on the plane and like that being the first thing, and then checking the score and seeing they won by 25 and being like, oh, of course, this is just what the Cavs do now. They beat bad teams by 25 points. I think like for me with Okoro, just in terms of sustainability, is like the 3-point. I think the 3-pointer is going to come and go all year. But if he can just get it to a point where like defenses can't just like chill in the paint while he's at the 3-point line, like that will be a good start. And just shooting an average rate from 3, like even like low 30s, I think we'll start to do that. I think the other thing with him is like, it does seem like such a confidence thing, especially when he drives to the rim. I think like he has all the ability in the world on drives. Like he's big, he's physical. Like he's got a Euro step. He has moves. He can get to the hoop. I think we've seen in the past, especially last season, like finishing his sometimes not a strong suit. Like he'll get to the rim and then it looks like he has no idea what to do. And it does seem like recently he's really like driven to the rim with a purpose and with an idea of like the move he wants to make at the rim. And like that to me is so important because like it's all great that you can drive, you can get there. He's a big dude. He's going to be able to kind of like take contact, but it was the ability to finish and not sort of just throw the ball up at the rim while taking contact. And that to me is almost as big as the 3-point stuff. Because I do think the 3-point stuff is, it's just going to be never going to be an incredible 3-point shooter. That's just not his shot. But I think the confidence in finishing and working on his finishing, like we've seen these last few games, that to me is like, that's sustainable to me, I think. And I think that will be his bread and butter. And hopefully that's what he can continue to do.
Really sucks that he's now out. Just like sucks.
Yeah.
It just, again, we talked about this it sucks. But this is just, again, it's just like the reality. And like, I wonder how NFL teams are doing this, but like, I wonder how like NBA teams who never get to practice anyway, like keep guys engaged, you know? Like, how do you like keep Isaac Okoro like from like to progress if he can't practice, if he can't like do anything because he's in protocols? Like, can he just like ride like his like pellet? Does he have like a Peloton at his crib?
He's got a VersaClimber at the crib, probably.
Yeah, 100% a VersaClimber. Absolutely. Yeah, Cavs. Cavs have those. Yeah, that's their thing.
No, Isaac's Atlanta born and bred. He just plate pushes around Cleveland right now with a mask on, keeping 6 feet away from
Colin
everybody
can't do
else.
it right now, so Isaac's got to pick up the Atlanta mantle, pushing weight sleds around.
That Colin Sexton like recovery hype video, it like tingled some emotions in me. I was like, oh, he's a freak. He's slamming a medicine ball, pretty much a whole brace going up his leg. There's
great production value. Great production value on that
on
that video. You got to respect it.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, if you ask JB about it though, he's just going to say they FaceTime Isaac constantly. They include him on any and all meetings and things like that. And like that's what they do with Colin as well, from what he shared with me publicly. Other than that, they'll probably have like a regimen saying like, hey, if your lung could like trying to maintain your lung capacity. Because again, I think that's what Kevin stressed the most is like physically he was fine because he was in shape, but like he had the hardest time breathing and getting used to like catching his breath on the floor at any given moment.
Just a note on Okoro's 3-point shooting: 30.1% on the year, 32.8 on catch and shoot threes, which is 36% of his shots. He basically doesn't take any pull-ups, which makes sense. But like that is even like a little better last year. It's obviously not even league average. We got to see where it gets, but I am again like an Okoro believer. I think he's going to be fine.
Truther.
Last year, 29.7% on catch and shoot threes for whatever it's worth. So he's like, it's like a little improvement. You got to take that win where you can get it. If we're gonna evaluate him, and the pressure obviously is on him in a lot of ways as we're thinking about this. So I don't know. It's all right. We're gonna take some questions. First one, this is a wild fake trade to me. Dylan Windler, top 3 2022 protected first for Cam Reddish.
I mean, it says, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If Atlanta like will do this, then okay.
Okay, but like, is let me just play devil's advocate. Is top 3 like? Can I get like a lotto protected on that? Because like you have to pay Cam Reddish. You're doing Atlanta like a little bit of a favor by like helping them like avoid like some salary shenanigans. You know what I mean? Like,
But you're getting Dylan Windler back.
I'm just saying. Can I get like not top? Can I get like lotto protections? Like
being a little greedy. I'd say top 10 protections.
Okay, I could live with that. Cam Reddish is just like not, I guess, like high on my list. Brad Rowland has like Brad Rowland has basically like pilled me on Reddish, and that like he's not actually a good offensive player. And like that, if like why am I doing this? I'm not getting another that can actually like handle the ball at a high level and create some shots. Like if I'm doing a trade and then I have to pay that guy, like because the other thing about Reddish is like the money is coming due in a way.
Yeah.
And I guess you have a good relationship with Clutch, but like you're kind of trading from kind of knowing that the money is coming down. Reddish is like not high on my list, but I tend to like think all of these trades are like very hard to do. Like none of these are like very simple to do in any meaningful way. Like none of them are like just because of the way the Cavs book kind of looks like it's all just kind of messed up. But if like I guess like if you could get it's a little messy. Do you guys like Reddish? What do you feel about Reddish?
I think Reddish to me still feels a lot like he was at Duke, where it's like you understand why he's so tantalizing and like why you want to have a sort of 3-and-D wing that's like his size and looks good shooting the ball. That was like the biggest thing out of Duke. It was like, listen, he looks great. His form looks great. It just doesn't go in as much as you would think it should. I guess I'm bullish on Reddish just because he remains very young. I don't know, that Atlanta offense, when everybody's healthy, he's like not a top option, like he doesn't get a ton of rhythm and he's just kind of like he's had injuries. And I wouldn't say he's like the number 1 sort of wing guy. I know the Cavs have been sort of linked to Reddish in terms of these trade rumors for what feels like a while now. And there's been reports that they like him a lot, but so he's not like top of my list, but I think I'm probably higher on him than people are, just because I think like he's, again, has time to sort of continue to develop and work on his shot and is a good defender. So yeah, I don't know. I think, man, if you could like ship off Dylan and like a top 10 protected, then yeah, I'll be even higher on Cam Reddish. I don't know if it's realistic, but yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I'm bullish on Cam Reddish. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I'm bullish on Cam Reddish too. I wasn't wild about Cleveland flirting with the idea of taking him 5th overall back during the Darius Garland draft, but if they're able to net him like we talked about for Dylan Windler, a top 10 protected pick, I think that's a gamble worth taking a stab at. You could start him at the 2, start him at the 3. Just kind of figure it out from there. A lot of what Jordan said is what I agree with. Like, I'm bullish on him as well, but like you watch him shoot it, he looks great. But the contract year Cam Reddish experience is something to behold as well. I remember watching him during the preseason and early into the season with the Cavs played Atlanta, and Reddish was kind of bombing it at points, and you can really tell that he's a bit in the coach's doghouse in Atlanta too. So I think once Atlanta's fully healthy, he's going to be kind of more phased out of the rotation too. I don't know. It's interesting. I think it could be a gamble worth Cleveland's while, and if it's the cost is that low, I don't really see the real loss here either.
notably checking this on the trade machine real quick, the Cavs would have to attach like one of their other minimum salaries if they're going to do this, because they cut like another $600,000 off their books because their cap sheet is so mucked up.
If they
so
have to
like
give up Denzel Valentine,
I mean he has the Michigan State grit, so I don't really know if we can do that.
Don't you take Denzel Valentine from us? Don't you do it?
If that happens, you have to like go sign like someone who either like was a dog on the Warriors title team, shouts to Jordan Bell, or find another Michigan State grad that you can like bring up from the G League or something.
or
find
a guy who was scarred by the bullying Bulls and can hype up Larry Markkinen on Instagram.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, Denzel did also drop an album last year, so like, I mean, just sign Kid Cudi, honestly.
Odd.
Was it on your Spotify Wrapped, Chris? Was that
it was
on your Wrapped?
I will not confirm or deny, but it was up there pretty high. Obviously, it was
top 0.1%.
Yeah. I get when you get those emails about like, do you want like advanced tickets for shows? It was like Denzel Valentine hasn't ever done a concert, but if he does, we'll be notifying you on that.
Chris was the only one in the Denzel Valentine exclusive Spotify green room.
Yeah,
it's just Chris and Denzel.
It was a really nice,
a really awkward silence.
Yeah, it was like the Nirvana Unplugged, but for me only. It was cool. It was very cool stuff. All right, after the break, I have a question I'm going to ask you guys about draft picks, because I've been thinking about this and I don't know where I stand in comparison to you guys. And we haven't talked about this, but Evan, you got to tell everyone about our friends at TrueBill first.
I do. Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a business game out to get you. Do not, and I mean do not, let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download TrueBill today to take control of your subscriptions. TrueBill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you do not need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year with TrueBill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, TrueBill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and TrueBill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your TrueBill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you do not have to. So, if you're interested and you don't want to fall anymore for any more subscription scans, start canceling today at TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now, TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. It could save you thousands a year. TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA.
Okay, with draft picks, I'm gonna out him on this take, and he'll come on. I'll make him come on the pod and tell him I did this. But Martin Rickman, for months, dating back to Las Vegas when he sent Zirm and I to a breakfast place where we waited like an hour and then hallucinated off of cold brew, has said that he thinks the Cavs shouldn't really even think about worrying about their draft pick next year. That they should just trade the draft pick if they can find a reasonable deal. That he's just like, I don't really care if they use their pick next year. It's not useful. I don't know
Martin
if I'm
see into the future and he knows the Cavs are a playoff team.
Martin already is Destiny from the X-Men, and if you know that's terrifying. Yeah. But what do you guys think about the Cavs and draft picks with where they're at? Because I'm a little torn on this. Because I on one hand, I think if I could find the right piece, I would absolutely give up the pick for a year, because you already have all these young guys anyway. Like, get me another guy that can help right now. But at the same time, I think part of being a market like Cleveland is like needing to develop over time and develop guys to replace guys that get too expensive or want to go somewhere else. And like, I think like going down a road where you trade a ton of picks for nothing that good is a little dicey to me. And it's just cap wise, it's also hard for them because like their cap situation is just weird, and it just will continue to be weird because of the timing on the Lovegan coming off the books, but then like the Garland extension and theoretically kicking in a Sexton extension, all that stuff. Like it will complicate their cap sheet if they don't have like the cost control of first round draft picks to kind of lean on if they want to go that route.
Yeah, it's tough because you look at like teams like Atlanta. We just talked about the Cam Reddish trade. Like if Cleveland keeps adding first round picks to their salvo, let's say they end up signing and trading Colin Sexton, they get multiple for like a first or two for their troubles. Or like the Cavs have 2 second-round picks in this year's draft. Like they have to consolidate those picks unless they plan on adding 3 rookies to their roster. Like one, the Cavs don't have that much roster space to begin with, and 2, they have to be cognizant of the fact that down the line, like they have to sign Darius Garland to an extension soon. If they want to keep Colin Sexton, if they sign him to one, they have to sign Isaac Okoro to something. They have to eventually sign Evan Mobley as well, and eventually this future pick too. Like you have to be cognizant of stuff 3, 4, or 5 years in advance as well. But Cleveland also isn't a team like Boston under Danny Ainge that's kind of sucked at drafting. Like I'd say Kobe Altman has a pretty solid draft history other than the Dylan Windler pick, but I think you can't really foresee injuries being a thing. So at the same time, like I can understand why you're torn. I think I am too, because that's always kind of like just going back and forth and making a face while you're going through your thought process. I think the Cavs could take the shot of consolidating some of these picks they have, maybe some of the young talent they've accumulated. If there's a power play available, whether it's a Jaylen Brown or hell, if they want to go take a run at Ben Simmons, they can go ahead and do that too if they really want to. But like, there's probably options that are going to be available for the Cavs next offseason to upgrade that this already on this already promising season. But at the same time, you don't want to completely jeopardize your future, because this could also blow up in your face in spectacular fashion. Because like I said, you can't predict injuries. It's really unfortunate. And like what's happened to Colin and what's happened to Dylan as well, like you can't foresee this happening at all. So it's tough, because yeah, if like the trade materialized, if the Cavs could like say, let's go grab Brandon Ingram or Jaylen Brown, I'm going to use those two as my example. I think, yeah, you definitely punt on the pick this year to grab that. And because that is a clear position of need if you're the Cavs, and that's a huge upgrade at that position as well.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with Evan there. I think like I think because of how the Cavs have played, like I don't even want to use the word timeline, but just the development and sort of like what this team could be expectation wise, I think has just accelerated a little bit. And because I think that's the case, and because you can say you've probably hit on, Garland and Mobley, and, we'll see with Okoro, but like you have this sort of core now that you're like, okay, like these are young guys that have a pretty clear path to like becoming very, very good players. And it sort of sped things up a little bit. And because Cleveland's not a place like free agency wise that is ever going to be at the top of anybody's list, it's like having that pick in your back pocket to sort of use, like in some of Evan's examples, or like if they want to, because the wing is still such a position of need for them. And I think adding like a legitimate wing really, like, then you start like kind of cooking with gas with this Cavs team a little bit and really start like dreaming big. So it's like, I understand like having it as insurance and having it as, just to like Chris, to your point, because they are going to have to pay some people and there may have to be some decisions about certain players in the future. Like, so yeah, it's always nice to have that pick and get a guy on a rookie scale, but it's like, if there is an opportunity where you're like, if they want to do it for this player who can help immediately and who is probably the version of a wing that you imagine whoever you draft, like you want to be that player, then like,
yeah, and right now,
absolutely.
and not like and it's like if it's right now and not 3 years from now. Yeah.
Yep, 100%. So I think, like I think they should be not like, over aggressive, but I do think like if there are deals to be made and you have to attach that type of pick, I don't think they should be crazy hesitant about doing it, because they have just found themselves in this very like advantageous position all of a sudden that I don't think, in the offseason they thought they'd be in, and it just changes things a little bit.
Yeah, and I think like
Martin Rickman,
this also means
you saw this coming a mile away.
If only Martin was in the front office, he could have told all of them.
Look, Martin Rickman, the head honcho over there at Dime, is a wild character. The other thing that I think this emphasizes for me is that how important the G League is going to be going forward. Because I think if we want to like the Cavs have, I think, hit on Garland. I think Sexton obviously is like an NBA caliber player. Okoro looks super. No, Mobley obviously kind of like no brainer. They missed on Windler. The KBJ thing didn't work out for a lot of reasons. But I think like if the Cavs like in the next couple of years, it's like a weird kind of thing to throw up, but like they're gonna need to find their own version of like Jason Tate, like a guy that like kind of get overlooked, that maybe they even overlooked. But in terms of finding a guy in the G League, finding a guy who is coming back from overseas that they've scouted, like that guy that you can then sign to like a pretty team friendly contract is just like a way to build your roster out on the edges. If you can do that, like that stuff just does matter on the edges ultimately. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's like they're gonna nail every single one of these, but they if they can find that guy, if they can sign a guy to a 2 and then develop that guy, like that is a win of figuring some of this out. So I'll be curious to see if like, and like, and to their credit, I think with like Nembhard, I don't know if like RJ Nembhard is going to be like a rotation player or whatever in the league in 2 years, but like I like that kind of 2-way more than I like London Perantes. You know what I mean?
Do you like Taco Fall in that vein then, or do you think it's more of a Perantes thing?
I think it's probably more in the middle.
I agree with that. I think that's fair because I think I told you last night I saw a fan with a custom Cavs Taco Fall jersey, and you and I agreed that like the mascotification of Taco Fall is kind of
And
gross, but there is
yeah, I
something
don't
there
like that.
too.
Yeah. Like his per 36 numbers in the NBA are like kind of outrageous, but it's like he's never able to like play them, and then like it is also I just like think it's like I feel weird for him when like he enters the game and people are just like losing their minds because he's
Yeah,
just
or
big.
So
fans
if I was Taco Fall, I would be like, please stop every time I check into the game, like giving me this like cartoonish standing ovation. Like it has to get by now. It even happened on the road. Like who did they play on the road before? Like a couple games ago, I forget who the opponent was, but he like checked in, and like the fans in there were like cheering as loud, and it's just got to be like it's got to be so tiring for him. He just like probably just wants to play like be a normal basketball player instead of being the like we want taco guy. So I feel bad for him sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. All right,
him
after the
and
break.
Bowl.
Yeah. Well, Bulls. That's a whole other thing. All right, after the break, we're gonna take some more questions. Evan will pick some great ones out for us to on the other side. But first, gotta tell everyone about our friends at Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar out there. If you're looking for a holiday treat to kind of hold you over until the holidays, you're looking for something to eat after a hot yoga class or after a workout, after a run, check out Built Bar. They have so many great flavors: raspberry, mint brownie, cherry, double chocolate, cookies and cream, and many more. They have mixed box if you want to try all 18, and they have a bunch that are holiday specific. Like they had eggnog and gingerbread, and like they have a ton of great ones that you should go try. If you want to drop some in stockings, I can't blame you as that is a good stocking stuffer either. Maybe dip it into a cup of hot cocoa, melt it a little bit, and give your
If
beverage
you
a
have
bit of the
kids,
Built
leave
Bar
it out
flavor.
for Santa on the plate.
Jack Santa. It's not bad Santa. It's Jack Santa who gets gains. Shouts to Billy Bob Thornton. Anyway, go to built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15. You're going to get 15% off your order. Again, that is promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. And I got to tell you about our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, and they have more props, odds, and lines than ever before as the football season continues to march towards the playoffs. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile site to sign up today and receive that 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. All you got to do, use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. From basketball to football to NHL to boxing to UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. That's BetOnline, and that's where the game starts. All right, Evan, hit us with a question. Let's go.
Oh God, this is really there's a lot.
Let's do two great questions. Wrap up this live show and go out on a bang.
Well, I don't know, man. The Dylan Windler for a top 3 protected pick was a pretty good one. Let's talk about this a little bit. Should RJ Nembhard get minutes with Okoro? I don't see the harm in that.
Well, would you rather see Nembhard or Windler or Valentine if you had to pick one of Occam's razor?
Nembhard, because he's a bigger guard, and you might as well just see what you have there. Maybe this is a good evaluation period for both the Charge, because he's playing really well for the Charge. I'm gonna pull up his G League stats, but like he is a consistent member of. I mean, like he had a triple double. I think he was the first, like one of the first few players to say, not first, but few players that have a triple double in Charge history. He's averaging 18.6 points, 7.8 rebounds, 6.6 assists in the G League this year. That's pretty nuts in itself. Yeah, I think it's worth a start. Why not? Or a shot, not a start.
First you say Kyle Guy, now him. Zirm, what do you think? Who would you like to see?
Kyle Guy. No, I probably
look if they get
my
three
feelings
more
on
players.
Kyle Guy.
Look, if they get a couple more players out with like COVID, like hardship exception, Kyle Guy season, I honestly, why not?
Let him come in and shoot like 15 times,
and then like talk to Andre Don and be like, yeah, I actually should be starting. I don't know why I'm coming off the bench. Iconic stuff.
Oh my God,
Kyle Guy,
please,
legend.
what an icon.
Who like no one recognized because he cut his hair. You know,
messed
up the branding.
Grow back out. Yeah, the brand is
Kyle,
done.
Come on. He was wearing a Ted Lasso. I don't know if you saw that one photo of Windler, but he was wearing a Ted Lasso t-shirt. He had a Ted Lasso Believe t-shirt, and I'm just Kyle Guy. Let's talk about Ted Lasso. Are you a Roy Kent?
God, he looks like a generic white guy with a haircut.
Yeah, it's not right, you know.
Yeah, no,
it's not right.
He needs to let it back out.
Yeah.
I'm probably, I mean, I'll be honest. I truly have not watched. You guys have probably watched way more of Nemhard than I have. Like, I truly don't know outside of like, was he on their summer league team, Chris?
No, because
No.
because it was like I just remember like you and I leaving like, oh, Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan is going to be like a two-way option because he was like bombing threes and people like losing their minds over him, and he was like good in summer league, and then like he was with like the Nuggets in camp.
Heat.
Oh, the Heat.
For the Heat in summer league, and then signed with the Cavs in September.
Yeah. So I think I've seen like maybe brief preseason minutes, but I truly like I just don't know a ton about him. I think like the thing with obviously he's balled in the G League. I think the thing with Windler to me is like I'm at a point where it's like, okay, I would bet on this probably not working out more than it is working out. But to be fair to him, it does feel like because of the injuries, he's never like been able to like consistently play. And like, he's getting some G League time now and he's got some minutes down there. And I think that's great. I don't know if the Cavs can afford to just be like, and I mean, maybe, that's why we're talking about this and like they're going to have to fill those Okoro minutes somehow. But it's like, with a healthy roster, it's hard to see him getting time to like really go out and get into any sort of rhythm. But I probably would lean on Windler because like if not now to like full on evaluate him in any sort of meaningful minutes, then like when are you gonna do it? So I don't know. I mean, maybe that ship is sailed and JB and the staff are like, it's just not, it's not gonna work up here. But I don't know. If we're talking those options, I'd probably just lean with Windler just because he was the draft pick of this regime, and it's like, you got to throw him out there and see if he can float at some point. But that ship may have sailed. I don't, Evan may have some better insight. You guys better insight on that than me, but I don't know.
I don't think it's necessarily sailed. I think they're gonna give him the best opportunities they can, but they're obviously gonna be like depending on him on a night-to-night basis.
Yeah, he doesn't have like a runway to figure this out. Like he just kind of has to do it, and if not, like the plug gets pulled. You know what I mean? Like I think that's one of the things. Like them accelerating this year, it's like you probably do have less room to be patient with some of the guys that have not done enough to give you at least some hope before. It's not like because like Dylan Windler is like NBA career, and it's not really his fault. It's just been bad luck and things, but like hasn't been impressive. Like that's why like I loved him getting to go to the G League just to play and like shoot the ball and like get in the rhythm. Like that's like I know he got married and was coming off the injury in the summer, but like he was a guy that I think summer league like would have made a ton of sense for if he would have been able to go and all that stuff. I'm actually warming up to the idea of like let's just start Lamar Stevens just to see. I just wanted to like sometimes see stuff just to see what happens. Wouldn't hate it. I don't think he's like quick enough to like defend Trey, so like maybe Darius has to do it, but like let's just see what happens.
You're an absolute madman, Chris Manning.
I am a madman. I'm an absolute man. Look, I just sometimes just want to like
too.
Well, you're nuttier than me, bro. But I just want to.
I'm chaotic. I'm just chaotic good. That's all I can say.
Okay, let's do one more question and get out of here.
Well, this isn't a question in the chat, but I read this today and I had to close out of twitter.com. Do you think the Cavs are a finals caliber team? Because people are starting to think that, and I think you need to pump the brakes a little bit here, folks.
This is
because of like advanced metrics.
Queuing me up to be ornery, bro. Yeah. Come on.
Is Leanne home?
No, she's on her way. We have Mitchell's we're gonna eat when we get off.
That's why you're screaming right now, so you can be loud about basketball, and your wife doesn't have to complain to you about it.
She's.
I tempered him down, but Chris, are the Cavs an NBA Finals team? I say no. I say they're a playoff team. And you should just be happy because expectations were so low this season. Just enjoy the experience.
A playoff team is a step forward, but like here's just the reality. Okay, if you have the 19th best offense in the league, it's just like hard to be a title team. I don't really have like faith that the Cavs offense is good enough for them to make a deep run this year. But if we're talking a year or two from now, and like they make the right moves and they figure some stuff out, and Mobley develops and all this stuff, like. You could get there. I think this year's like a little like that is pushing on the gas too far, but I think certainly look like a playoff team. Like they've gone from under 1% on 538's model to make the playoffs to 69% as of this morning. A very nice, may I say, 69% to make the playoffs. That's wild, but that's how good they've been.
Yeah, we've gone from like being like, man, it'd be cool if they competed for a play-in spot, but I don't know. Like that was coming into the season where I was at. And I was like, I mean, like, man, I hope they compete play-in spot. Like, if they don't, will I be disappointed? Yes. Will it be like completely surprising? No. To like, what if they get the 6th seed? Like it is that to me. If they get a 5 or 6 seed, that by itself is gonna be like mind blowing, and like we should just enjoy that. I appreciate that like the energy around Cavs Twitter and Cavs Online has like flown up. Like this is great. I'm like, happy for everybody involved. But yeah, we've I think that question that I too have also seen people tweeting about, being like, don't see why they couldn't make the finals. Like, oh, well, all right.
The
But
playoffs are a different monster than the regular season.
I genuinely think the Cavs might struggle
and
to
let's
score
also
like
say the
95.
Cavs beat a Heat team without Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. If the playoffs started today, I think they play the Heat, and let's assume Jimmy and Bam are available.
The Heat are favored in that series, yeah.
Eric Spoelstra would coach circles off.
Well, it's just like, I love Garland, and I love like Rubio's been awesome. This team does not have enough ball creation to like manage a 7-game series with how basketball ends up getting played in the playoffs. They just like don't have enough to navigate some of that.
Yeah. Even like I think about a series against the Bulls, which I think would be a blast. But like in that series, I'd be like, man, like Zach LaVine could come out and score 50 in a game and bury the Cavs in an avalanche. Like there are just like the playoffs are so different. I think that right now it's like just being able to, if they get to host a first round series, if they got to the 5 or 6 seed, like nuts.
If they get to play in the playoffs and Darius Garland and Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, who's been in the playoffs before, but not in a little bit now, obviously. And like Isaac Okoro and like all these guys get to get their feet wet in the playoffs, that is such a big deal. That's a big deal. I'm not telling like people how to like feel, but like at that I think if you like ask the Cavs internally how they felt about some of this, and like if they feel like they're ahead of schedule, they would tell you this is like better than they thought they'd be. And like right now, 538's model has the Cavs 5th best in point differential, 53.9 win or 53.9 wins at this pace. If they're playing at this level all year, that's obscene. That is tied with Milwaukee for the 4th best win total in the league. If that was like what they ended up being. And I don't think they're going to crack 50 games. So like in the 40s feels on the table. And like with how amassed the East is, like, and you get the right first round matchup, like you totally could have a run that gets you there. But this is, I think this team is so like the now is very fun. You should enjoy the now. There's just so much potential and intrigue with the next couple of years that was not there 6 months ago. You know, it is just unlocked in a different way.
And I just think about it all. To me, so much of it comes back to Mobley too, where we were like, man, year one is going to be really raw, but like he's probably going to show some exciting stuff. And like Evan Mobley came out like day one, and you're like, oh. And now it's like, think about year two Mobley. Think about year 3 Mobley. You know, like just what he's going to be able to build on, like that type of thing. Then you're thinking about, like Chris said, they make some moves, and you just add Darius and Evan's kind of growth, and it's just like, okay, now we're looking at a pretty scary team. So like it's gonna come, I think. Like I'm more optimistic about the future of this team by leaps and bounds than I was at the beginning of the season, just because of what we've seen from some of their younger guys. But like I'm just to have playoff basketball in Cleveland with this team.
To have competent basketball is a massive step forward.
Yes. Yeah. Massive step forward. And it's been a blast. And yeah, man. Hey, man, listen, if we end up in the finals against the Warriors, I'm not gonna be upset about it. I'm ready. You know, like let's get after it. But you know, we'll hold on to that.
The booing of Draymond in that scenario and the booing of Steph would be
iconic.
Like, just unhinged. Truly, like this team's gonna grow as Evan Mobley like gets more jacked. Like Evan Mobley's gonna show up like 20 pounds heavier at media day next year, and we're gonna be like, oh, you spent all summer like lifting under Lincoln Riley's coach back at USC, like his weightlifting coach. You just spent all summer like working with a guy, like hanging out at USC with your dad, and like back in your hometown, and like lifting under like the new strength conditioning coach at USC. That's what you did all summer. And he's gonna be like, and then he's gonna like walk you. And Jordan, Evan and I have references a bunch, but did you see the clip of Mobley like, explaining how he blocked a shot?
I don't know if I did.
Evan, walk him through it.
So, somebody or Andre Knott asked him how he was able to block a shot, and Evan Mobley, he's just real deadpan. He's like, "Well, I got lower, and then I jumped, and my hand touched the ball, and it didn't go into the bucket. That's how I blocked a shot." And then just silence. And Andre's like, okay." So
He's gonna be
he's such a pure soul, Evan Mobley. Like he
He's-
is the most like just this guy that just exists to like play
Yeah.
basketball, and that's kind of it. I don't know if you guys.
I love it.
I was gonna bring this up real quick when the latest the low post with Brian Windhorst where they're talking a little bit about the Cavs that came out earlier this week. The Windy was just talking about how after Summer League, Evan Mobley called the Cavs and was like, "Yo, I'm just trying to work out." And they were like, "Who do you want? Like, we'll send the entire training staff. Like, what is it that you need?" So like,
Evan, we can do what you need, my guy. It's fine.
Like whatever you need, dude, we got you. So that's like incredibly encouraging that he's like you will definitely see a body transformation from year 1 to year 2 with Evan, because he already apparently is just. I'm just imagining the phone call like, "Hey, it's Evan. Can I would like to just work out from now until preseason, and then being like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Yeah. Well, and he's also with, like, if people want to like have fun with this during the summer, his trainer is a guy on Instagram. It's like Big Guard U, I think, and it's like the same guy that trains like Jalen Suggs and Shea Alexander, among other guys, and Steven Adams was with him this summer. So like he's working out with like other
Good
NBA players
players.
good NBA players. Man, imagine if the Cavs had taken Jalen Suggs. Like, oh man.
Even like I obviously like I wanted Jalen Green. That was the guy.
I assumed Green was going to be third if we go back. Like I just kind of Jalen Green's going to be the pick. I just kind of thought Mobley was going to.
But even like thinking about Jalen Green, who's kind of had a beginning to his career that I thought he would have. Like he's a high volume, doesn't take very good shots, but you can see the athleticism and you can see what he could become. Man, even that, like this year, knowing what Evan Mobley has looked like, we'd be like, damn. Like I think it'll come with Jalen Green. I still think he's going to be really, really good, but it's like they just found themselves in the absolute perfect scenario with Mobley falling to 3. So you gotta just thank somebody for that.
Sometimes it is just luck that this stuff works out in a way that helps you. And the Cavs they're good. They're being coached well. They have got a lot of really good players. They've also gotten lucky. And I'm curious to see how they approach this roster construction. Jordan, before we go, do you have a trade target you like? If you were going to be able to pick a guy that the Cavs have been linked to, or that you could have a dream a little bit, is there anyone that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, there's a few. I think like the Karis LeVert thing is out there, and I know he's struggled a little bit this season. His field goal percentage is really down.
Apparently, Tony East from Locked On Pacers was tweeting that he played the best game of his season and had 30 points. So
okay, all right, great. He's showcasing himself. I appreciate it. I think
Columbus, Ohio's own, almost Ohio Bobcat until John Beilein stole him away. Karis LeVert, let's go.
Yeah. So Karis LeVert. So like I think I'm on board with that. I think like the Pacers thing is just weird all around because they're just sort of treading water. But I don't know if this is like a long-term play, and I know too, like this isn't I don't know if this is the move that takes you to another level. I just, for whatever reason, love Terrence Ross, and like I think that like he would just like slide in perfectly to this lineup as a wing that can just get you buckets, that can shoot the 3, and like he plays in Orlando, so nobody ever sees him. He's like he's a very good player,
and under contract, and he's under contract for next year. So like it's not like it'd be a rental situation if you were to go make that move.
100%. I know like Jeremy Lamb is a name that comes out too, and like I like Jeremy Lamb a lot. He's obviously got more size and maybe is a better defender, but there's just something about Terrence Ross's offensive game where it's like, look, the Cavs have this incredible defense, and I think with Mobley and Allen back there, it mitigates the need as much for like to add somebody where you don't have to fully be like, he's got to be a good perimeter defender. He's got to be like an elite perimeter defender. And I just like Terrence Ross's offensive game when the Cavs need a bucket, like when Garland sits, it's just like, look, man, he'll get you one. So I think honestly, on that sort of mini list outside of like like somebody said Brandon Ingram, that's to me is like another tier, and that's like somebody you're adding long term. But like Terrence Ross, I think is a pretty good target that maybe wouldn't cost you a crazy amount. I don't know, but we'll see. But I think, yeah, Terrence Ross is kind of the guy I've been like, oh, that would actually like be a really nice fit.
Ingram or Jaylen Brown, if you could pick one, if you're a big game hunting.
Who and Jaylen Brown?
Brandon Ingram or Jaylen Brown?
Oh man, that one's really hard.
To me, it's Jaylen Brown. I don't think it's close.
I think I would probably lean Jaylen Brown as well. Obviously, he has spent a lot of time sidelined this season, so he's not like fresh in our minds, I guess, as Brandon Ingram, maybe a little bit. But I think I would definitely lean Jaylen Brown over Ingram.
Yeah, I would lean Jaylen Brown over Ingram too, just because he just makes more sense for this. Like, just defensively, he does a lot for me.
Imagine, Evan, we were talking about this earlier. Just imagine if you had a 5 of Garland, Brown, Okoro, Mobley, and Allen.
Silly. They'd be silly.
The defense alone would just be like outrageous.
It would be, people are like, oh, defense doesn't win championships anymore. I'd be like, this one might.
if they can hold teams to like 90 points a game.
Yeah.
Like, and they run like pick and roll 900 times and just spam it, I don't know.
You're good.
What a time. This Cavs season truly could not have been more fun than it has been. Truly. Like, there's a world where like we're talking about like Rubio trades now, and instead we're like playoffs ? Like, it's tons of fun. It's tons of fun.
Yeah.
Isaac Okoro hopefully gets well soon. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Evan, anything you want to plug as we get out, as we actually wrap up now, as I finally land this plane instead of like hovering above the tarmac for like 10 minutes?
I respect it, but no, if you haven't yet subscribed to Write Down Euclid, I always appreciate it. I'm hoping to be able to give you guys trial subs at the start of the new year, but yeah, if you can support me, I'd really appreciate it. We're really booming. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Get your booster, wear a mask, be safe, all that good stuff.
Yeah, check out the Checkdown where Jordan's doing the Lord's work, doing a ton of NFL stuff, and support them. Support us on YouTube. Hit subscribe. Everyone, be well. Have a good weekend. We'll be back on Monday after the Cavs have a big doubleheader against Milwaukee in Atlanta. Everyone, be well, be safe, and enjoy Cavs basketball because it's fun as hell.